we are devotees, so what is our goal actually? Right? What is our goal? What are we trying to achieve?
But at the same time, it is premature detachment is also not recommended.
Who's telling you to be prematurely detached? I mean, this all you are conceptualizing, oh yeah, it's too early for you. Nobody said that. Same as when Arjuna wanted to go to the forest, Krishna said, why are you doing that? I never asked you to do that. Because you're premature.
It's misunderstanding, first of all.
Hmm?
It's generally misunderstanding what is detachment.
Yeah. That's why I asked earlier on, what do you understand by detachment from your family and children?
It's connecting to Krishna.
Yeah, you just see them as Jiva who needs to go back to Godhead. But you're not seeing that. Generally, most parents see their children as a via media for their sense enjoyment. Oh, I didn't become a doctor. My child must become a doctor. Doesn't
100%.
work like that.
100%.
And you can see the result is they may become doctors, but they hate the parents and they hate their job.
Yeah.
And I've met people like that also.
Yeah, I actually 2 months back, when I was actually sick, when I went to the doctor, I was speaking to him, and then his father is also a very good friend of mine. And
Okay.
son actually went to see him, and then he actually told me that he wanted to become an engineer, and then because of his parents, he actually became a doctor, and then he was actually he should be 55 years old, the doctor himself. The father, I think, is 70 or 75. But he was still actually telling that, okay, he's not satisfied.
Not satisfied, yeah. There's so many kids like that, man. They just do it because they are dutiful to the parents. Actually, the parents should have been dutiful to them.
No, but this is the challenge also, no, Prabhu, like now, the Vedic culture or the...
Why is the Vedic culture telling you to be a
No.
doctor?
That's why I corrected myself. The modified form of Vedic culture, so we are born,
Yeah.
they said listen to parents, listen to elders. So we listen to them perfectly. And we did whatever they want to do. And now somebody else comes along and says, this is wrong. Vedas don't say that. So
No, the
paradigm
Vedas
is
do.
changing.
No, the Vedas do say listen to your parents. The
But
problem is the parents don't know what to say. Right? You were brought up in a culture, pseudo-Vedic culture. Right? And pseudo means some Vedic
some only rituals.
principles jumbled up with one's own fruitive consciousness. You know? Right? And then splat, and then new philosophy. That's what, the proof what I said is I'm not lying. He actually experienced.
55-year-old man comes
And
in.
he's not happy. So I met many young people. They do it. They
And
say,
then
yeah,
he was telling me that
right.
he wanted to become an engineer, like a software engineer. He got a seat in IIT,
Yeah.
and then he didn't, he
Go.
was not allowed to go.
Yeah.
He actually had to go and join AIMS, and he became a doctor, very big doctor. But then he was telling me, okay, now I have a desire that I should buy a BMW, and I want to buy that. Like 55-year-old actually.
I tell him go and buy his BMW.
Otherwise, next life you should come
So almost, I mean, this is a radical statement, but almost comes down to if we cannot raise kids properly, why have them?
Exactly. Bottom line is that.
Yeah.
If you can't give them Krishna consciousness, then forget it. I mean, it's a harsh statement, but actually you have to understand, if you're not going to give them Krishna consciousness, you are actually held responsible.
Committing violence against them.
Yes, you are. And they then propagate that kind of consciousness. Then they feel hurt that they didn't get what they want, so they'll do it to their children. I didn't get it when I grew up. My parents never allowed me to be what I want, so why you want to be? So this will propagate. So this karma will be centered around their family.
1994, when I came to America, somebody in my university was saying something like 7 out of 10 American kids think that their parents made a mistake giving birth to them. I mean, this is a rich country.
Yeah.
Technically, you would think, right? I just came from India. Oh, people must be happy here. And
No.
here people are thinking, why did my parents give birth to me?
Yeah, it's like that because most Westerners feel that the children are a burden because they cannot enjoy. Raising a kid is a difficult thing. You know, you gotta get pregnant. The ladies will think they have to carry the child. They can't do anything for 10 months, and then after that,
And mostly they get divorced.
and then they have to
It's
take care of the
gonna
child. After that, you know, take them to hospital, clinic, up to another. No stop. So how can they enjoy their own lives? So that's why a lot of people don't want to have kids, because they don't understand the goal. When Brahma created the Prajapatis, what was the goal behind it?
So that the population can increase, they can
For what?
for perform prescribed duties and going back to God.
Going back to God. So that is the Vedic understanding. So
Now there is no
if you say you know
understanding.
your Vedas and you don't know this thing, that means you don't know your Vedas. So therefore people with Chaturvedi, Trivedi, all nonsense.
Totally.
No Vedis, are Vedis. Huh?
Nirvedis.
They are Nirvedis, Nirviseshas, Sunyavadis. Text 6.
Nivritti dharma nirata. Nirmama nirahankataha. Dharmaptena satvena. Parishuddhena chetasa.
By executing one's occupational duties, acting with detachment and without a sense of proprietorship or false egoism, one is posted in one's constitutional position by dint of complete purification of consciousness. By thus executing so-called material duties, he can easily enter into the kingdom of God. So this particular statement talks about one who's very advanced actually. He's advanced because he's doing all the process properly. The sadhana bhakti, everything is done. Because he has no sense of proprietorship or false ego. How can you develop false ego? No false ego and sense of proprietorship. How do you develop that? It's only through the practice of sadhana bhakti, in a company of devotees. Then you give up your false ego. Then you become a servant like that. And then they are posted in one's constitutional position. Then he knows, then he's revealed what's his original position in the spiritual world. So whatever he does here materially is so that externally people know that they have to do their proper duties. So our constitutional position is when we are servants of God. Okay? So when we do our services also, we have to think like that. I'm a servant of God first. Now, for example, if I ask you, what are you? What would you say?
I have a name, Das, so which means I'm a servant of the Lord.
Yeah, you will say that. But when you are working, when your boss asks you, who are you? What do you say?
But if there is some temporary upadhi.
No, I'm asking you, what do you say?
I am working as an engagement manager.
Okay, you will say that, right? But what do you think?
I think this is the big burden.
See, that's the problem with it. You are not understanding this bottom line is that you're a servant. So you're not understanding that you are actually first a devotee. You're devotee first. Everything else is secondary. If you work on the principle, I'm a devotee first, then I'm working as a manager, engineer, like that. That is secondary to the fact that you're. If you don't think you're a devotee first, then you will never be able to connect yourself in Krishna consciousness. If you think when someone asks you who you are in your mind, you're thinking, I'm a big manager. That's it. You need a lot of work there, actually. But first you have to come to that understanding, I am actually a devotee of Krishna. I'm a devotee of Krishna as said in this situation.
It's very difficult to actually come to that.
Yeah, that's why this statement is for a very advanced person. But to come to that stage, you need to practice seriously. Have to practice seriously. It's not a question of, okay, this is a good thing and It'll happen when it happens. It'll never happen.
So Srila Prabhupada wrote in his passport, right? There was surrender, no wish, birth,
Yeah.
spiritual master, occupation.
Yeah. The same, every one of us have to develop that. Every time when you fill up a form, occupation or what, first think, I'm a servant of Krishna. I'm a devotee of Krishna. Then you can fill up your material position. I'm a servant of Krishna in the capacity of a manager of this Microsoft company. Like that. Been posted in this. That's the right way of thinking. The more you think like that, it becomes easier. It's a practice. Sadhana bhakti is practice. It does. So, sadhana bhakti doesn't mean just you chant your arms and follow regular. It's not that. It's practice. Put it into practice. Why are you chanting? Oh, there's so many reasons you may say. Some people chant because they don't want any anxiety. But that's not the goal, right? The goal is to develop love. How you love someone. So this is the thing, how am I going to love somebody I don't know, I don't see? So you read more about them. Associate with people who are like-minded or even higher-minded in Krishna consciousness. Then in serving you give up your false ego. That's when you give up the false ego. When you are serving somebody, then that's when you give up your false ego. You can't give up false ego when you expect people to serve you. So to think I am a devotee first means I am a servant who will serve others. Not easy, right? Oh, I can't stand this person. How am I going to serve them? Right? You can't stand somebody and they come to your house when there's a function. Then what is it? You're a devotee first. Devotee is compassionate. Patita Pavana. You have to think, if I'm not all this, at least I should do something that Krishna will be pleased with me. Right? So, Prabhupada talks about Nivriti Dharma and Pravriti Dharma. Two kinds of religious performance. One is Pravriti Dharma, which means the religious activities performed by the great ladies for the elevation to the higher planets. And then the Nivriti Dharma is to work for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Not for selfish reasons, but for selfless reasons.
No, actually I was thinking when actually in my house we use this word a lot, Nivriti. Nivriti means like Nimarti. I don't know how to say it in English. Yeah.
Alright, that's okay. What happened? Of kids. Jumping on the wall. Yeah, so anyway, so one is a permanent seat and the other one is temporary situation. Text 7.
Suryadvarena te yanti
Suryadvarena te yanti
Purusham Vishwato Mukham Paravaresham Prakritim Asyopatyanta Bhavanam.
Through the path of illumination, such liberated persons approach the complete personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of the material and spiritual worlds and is the supreme cause of their manifestation and all dissolution. The word Surya Dwarena means by the illuminated path or through the sun planet. The illuminated path is devotional service. It is advised in the Vedas not to pass through the darkness but to pass through the sun planet. It is also recommended here that by traversing the illuminated path, one can be freed from the contamination of the material modes of nature. By that path, one can enter into the kingdom where the completely perfect personality of Godhead resides. The words Purusham Vishvato Mukham mean the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all perfect. All living entities other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead are very small, although they may be big by our calculation. Aham sarvasya Prabhu Matra sarvam pravartite. So he is a source of both material and spiritual manifestations. What are you doing? Oh,
Give us a
okay.
certain
So everything in this universe, the massive planetary systems, everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. Everything, nothing. Brahma just helps in the order of creation. He doesn't personally create anything. Okay, so everything, element level, all the ingredients for creation is already done. Even the planets are already set up by the Lord. He just has to expand it. So that's the position of Lord Brahma.
So Brahma takes Sarga and realigns it. That's all.
He does reason.
But he has to start with Sarga. Sarga is already created.
Yeah, he takes the created ingredients and
And
he
then that's the Sarga.
Text 8.
विपरार्धावासनेयः प्रलयो ब्राह्मणस्तु ते तावत् अध्यासते लोकम् परस्य परचिन्तकाः
Worshippers of the Hiranyagarbha, expansion of the personality of Godhead, remain within this material world until the end of two parardas, when Lord Brahma also dies. Again, Prabhupada talks about one dissolution at the end of Brahma's day. There is also dissolution in between each yuga. Okay, so one is at the end of Brahma's day and one is at the end of Brahma's life. These are the Brahma dies at the end of two parardas, at which time the entire material universe is dissolved. Everything is gone. Persons who are worshippers of Hiranyagarbha, the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbho Daksha Vishnu, do not directly approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Vaikuntha. They remain within this universe on Satyaloka or higher planets until the end of the life of Brahma. Then with Brahma they are elevated to the spiritual kingdom. So these are for devotees who are very in the Satyaloka planets. Alright, they are followers of Lord Brahma and they are worshipping Garbha Daksha Vishnu. And they only go back when everything is finished. The words Parasya Parachintakaha mean always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or being always Krishna consciousness. So this is at a high level, one who is always thinking of Supreme Lord. For most of us, we are always thinking of what our boss wants tomorrow. It's true, huh? Most of you think like that. Or what I have to do, what I have to buy, shopping, these are the things. But what Prabhupada wants us to do is try to see everything centered around Krishna. Like, oh, I have to buy things so that I can cook for Krishna. Or I have to go to work so I can pay the bills so that my children, my family and myself can have a place to worship Krishna. Like that. So that connection must be made daily. So then you'll always be thinking of Krishna. Then the whole idea of always remembering Krishna, never forgetting, makes sense. Smartavya satatam Vishnu Vismartavya na japusi.
Mukundatta Prabhu basically says moment to moment consciousness. So you have to catch ourselves moment to moment consciousness.
Yeah. If you can do that. If you can't do that, then you have to start doing it slowly. You have to. Has to start. Everything has to start somewhere, so this must be a practice first. Right? If you don't practice, you say practice makes perfect. So therefore you have to practice. Perfection is based on our practices. Our behavior, everything is based on practices. So if you have a bad habit, because you practice badly, can't blame anyone else for that. You don't find anyone just take birth and become a murderer. So basically, the intent may be there, but through association and the fact that they can do, they'll do it. So here Prabhupada talks about when we speak of Krishna, this refers to the complete category of Vishnu Tattva, which means all the incarnations. Includes the Purusha avatars, includes Ram, Lord Ram, Narsingha, Vamana, Kurma, all the different avatars. So when we talk about Krishna, we talk and you worship Krishna, and if you have a certain inclination for a certain expansion, you can still worship Krishna because he will reveal that form that you desire. Right? Just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, some Murari Gupta was saying Lord Ram, so Lord Chaitanya manifested Ram. Ram to him. Like that. In any case, if you are Krishna conscious, moment to moment, or always making sure everything is, at the time of that, you will go back to Vaikuntha or Krishna Loka. Right? Wherever you are, even if you are in China or South Antarctic, like that. Text 9.
Shamambu analani laviyanmaya indriyartha Bhutadivik parivratam pratisanjihirshuhu Avyakritam vishatiyahi gunatrayatma Kalam parakyamanubhuya paraswayambhuhu
After experiencing the inhabitable time of the three modes of material nature known as two Parardas, Lord Brahma closes the material universe, which is covered by layers of earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, ego, etc., and goes back to Godhead. Interesting, huh? So when everything is done and when his job is over, that means he's done his duties. And the Lord is pleased with him. So then he is allowed to close up everything. That means wrap up everything, put everything back in its original place in the elemental level.
He packs his suitcase and goes back home.
No suitcase.
No carry.
No suitcase. Nothing. Whatever he needs, Krishna will provide it.
Diamond suitcase of earth, water, air, fire, ether. So after every chatur, the 4 yoga cycles,
Yeah.
in the mini dissolution also, the jivas go into body of Vishnu?
Yeah. Not Mahavishnu, Garbhoda Vishnu.
Because Garbhoda Vishnu still exists.
Yeah. Text 10.
एवं पराच्य भगवन्तमनुप्रविष्ट
एवं पराच्य भगवन्तमनुप्रविष्टा
ये योगिनोचितमरुन्मनसो विरागाः
ये योगिनोचितमनुमनसो विरागाः
तेनैव साकममृतं पुरुषं पुराणम्
तेनैव साकममृतं पुरुषं पुराणम्
ब्रह्म प्रदानमुपयान्ति अगता भीमनाः
ब्रह्मप्रधानमुपयान्ति गताभिमानः
The yogis who become detached from the material world by practice of breathing exercises and control of the mind reach the planet of Brahma, which is far, far away. After giving up their bodies, they enter into the body of Lord Brahma. Therefore, when Brahma is liberated and goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Supreme Brahman, such yogis can also enter into the kingdom of God. It's a very interesting thing here, because these yogis, they actually merge into the body of Brahma. Yeah. Well, we can say they didn't really merge. They go into, because Brahma is not, body is very subtle. So maybe they go inside and Brahma takes them to the, it's an interesting thing.
But this is same as Ashtanga Yoga process.
Yes.
There they are supposed to develop bhakti for the superficial Paramatma.
So these yogis are not completely perfect, so they go to Satyaloka and then they meditate with Brahma. And after, when they are completely finished, they give up their material bodies, then they enter into Brahma, who is going to Lord Krishna. So Prabhupada writes, they are not directly devotees of the Lord. So obviously they must be trained by Brahma. And then after they get pass, then Brahma willingly takes them.
So is it the true for Lord, the devotees of Lord Shiva also, when they go to the planet of Shiva?
Not necessarily. When it's possible, but not necessarily. Generally, most of them go there, and then they come back. Right? Mayavadis, it's different groups in Lord Shiva takes care of. The ghosts, the Shashis, the Bhutas, and he takes care of the impersonalists, and he takes care of devotees who are like him, who worship Narayan, Vishnu. Yeah, for those, yes, he helps them, but they don't merge with him. I've never read like that.
So, Prabhu, how much is dependent upon what the devotee remembers the time of death? Because it is.
It all depends on how much you are associating. The more you think of Krishna, the more you will. Like, for example, let's say if I say I want you to memorize this verse, then I want you to know tomorrow to chant. What would you be doing? Yeah, so when you're sleeping, you will still be. Remember, when you get up, you will. Yeah, so that's how it is. How much we want to remember Krishna. And it's doable. It's not that it's not doable. It's something we have to convince ourselves to do it. If you can't remember Krishna's form, the best thing is to know prayers. So when you go to sleep, you chant the prayers. You get up, you chant the prayers. And when you're chanting the prayers, you are ultimately thinking of Krishna. Because you will be thinking of Krishna. And the more you understand the prayers, then you'll see Krishna in the prayers. Yeah. So how much to do all the time? Even in your work, when you get frustrated, you chant some shlokas. Right? It'll make you feel better. Then you can say, man, Krishna is so kind. I can remember the shloka, but I can't do this damn stupid thing. At least you feel better. And then you won't feel like this is your life and soul. Even if the boss says you can't do it, I'm going to fire you, you say, you're fine. You can fire me, but you can't take away my Krishna consciousness. You should develop that kind of. We are so afraid. Remember we were reading yesterday? So many people are afraid of the Lord for the wrong reasons. We shouldn't be afraid because Krishna is our well-wisher. In Mayapur there's a place, Harihara. So when people who die, Lord Shiva comes and chants Gauranga in their ears and then they go back to Godhead. So he takes people back to Godhead like that. When the Chetas were trying to do worship, he came and gave them the mantras to worship Lord Krishna also. Yeah. So yeah, Lord Shiva helps people because he's also like Lord Brahma. But I've never read people merge into him because he doesn't actually, he's on a different category. So he doesn't really wrap up and go. He's always on that cusp. So Kailash, part of Kailash is in the material world and part is on the spiritual, on the other side of Viraj. Oh. So anyway, there's this, I'll show you. Or you can go and see. X11.
This one last time he saying such yogis or demigod worshippers are subject to the chance of taking birth again when they are and there is again creation. Come back.
Depends on the yogis. If they don't really get liberated with Brahma, then they come back.
So they'll still stay in Brahma and then.
Oh no, they merge in the body of Mahavishnu. Then the next cycle of creation, they come back. It could be possible sometimes also when Brahma, who's running the universe, that he's finished his duration and he can go. Then a new Brahma has to come. Right? It's like sometimes your bosses quit and another boss comes like that. That is possible also. Impossible is only in the Prabhupada says in the full section because the Lord can do anything.
Mostly when Brahma dies, there's some gap when new creation starts.
Yes. Yeah, when at the time when Brahma dies, all the universe is going and we don't know how long the process is. They say it's each breathing of Narayana, Mahavishnu. Alright, so if you are absorbed in demigod worship or demigods, you cannot get direct liberation or entrance in the kingdom of God. Prabhupada says. Okay. So for that, yogis and demigod worship, they have to come back again. X11.
Like that, even if they go to the spiritual world, they come back.
No spiritual world. They are not going to spiritual.
Because they said some of them were in the body of Brahma and then.
Those are the devotees of Krishna.
Oh, they can go.
Yes.
Not
the others, demigod worshippers. Yeah.
तातं सर्वभूतानां हृत्पद्मेषु कृतालयम् श्रुतानुभावं शरणं व्रजभावेन भामिनि.
Therefore, my dear mother, by devotional service, take direct shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is seated in everyone's heart.
So, Prabhu, here, Vraja Bhavena, can it be understood like the consciousness of Raj?
Yes, you could. That is the way they actually that's what it is. But the word Vraj also means go in this context. But yeah, for one who's in the Vraj
platform,
they can see this because It's a fact. Brajavasis have that kind of devotion. Therefore, the Bhagavatam, you can see both. If you know, if you're at the level, you can see that. Shukadeva Goswami, when he is chanting these prayers, he is in Braj Bhakti. But for those who are not at that level, then it's a different level of understanding. So therefore, my dear mother, by devotion service, take direction to the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is seated in everyone's heart. Basically, he's saying, why you worry about all this Sankhya philosophy? Just do. Yes, very simple. Just do. So what Prabhupada has given for us is very simple. You don't have to tax our intelligence so much. Chant nicely, associate nicely, and then we can go back to Godhead nicely. Prabhupada says when you do this kind of service in the purport, you get to re-establish your loving relationship with the Supreme Lord through the devotees. It's not going to be separate from the devotees. It has to be with the devotees.
Actually, I remember once Krishna Maharaj lecture, he was mentioning all the devotees whom we are seeing here, same devotees are present in spiritual world. So if you don't know how to work with them here, how will you work?
Yeah, that's why you can't go back until you know how to work with everyone. So if you, I keep saying that, right? If you fight, you better solve it. The Lord is in the heart of everyone. And if you cannot see the Lord in the heart of everyone, and then you see them as an enemy, you have a problem. Right? The only time you see an enemy is when they are anti-Krishna conscious. And then again, you can see the Lord in the hearts also of such personality. Uttama Bhakta will see even an enemy as a friend, as he'll try to serve him. We are not on that platform. So we have to be able to discriminate those things. But yes, as devotees, we have to learn how to work with each other.
So Atma and Manete Jagat. So when we find somebody is difficult to work with, there is something else we have to work on ourselves. But in the meantime, we just take the humble position and move on. Is that
Atma and Manyate Jagat means you see yourself as the...
Like me, they think.
Yeah. You're seeing yourself equally. Everything is the same. I see, therefore that's how it is. That may not be the case. If you see someone, difficult to work with, then either you learn how to work with them or you work with someone else who can work with them. Right?
So isn't that becomes diplomacy, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says don't do
diplomacy is not, it's for the wrong reasons. If you say, let's say you can't work with Nitya Gauranga, but then Braj Kripa can work. So you work with him, that's all. What's wrong with it? That's you're developing a mood where you can finally work with him. You're still contaminated by your previous impressions and so on. It's not going to be overnight, you're going to wash it out. It'll take a while. The point is, ultimately, can you swallow your ego and say, you are just as dear to me as Krishna? That's what you're supposed to work at, not try to fix the other guy. You fix yourself.
Even before fixing, right? We still have to cooperate to move the temple forward and so on.
Yeah, so then you have to work cooperatively. Then you have to see if there's differences, opinions can be there, but doesn't mean you can't work together. The only reason you can't work together is you see them as your enemies. Right? You say something and they say something, then immediately you say, he's my enemy. Take out your bow and arrow. You take out your Ram, Vesh or whatever. Right? That's not what our philosophy is. Where that's Prabhupada in any purport say you go and do that. Right? Have you come across anywhere? I have not. Always he says work together, cooperate, no? Even when he was living in his deathbed, he was saying, Please work together, cooperate. Why? Because that's the hardest thing to do. If you learn how to work despite all the material difficulties, then you become qualified to work in Goloka. If you have that mentality, then that mentality cannot exist in Goloka. It's because of that mentality you were asked to come here. That's why you have to change. Give up that mentality. That's the false ego. False ego means you think you are right. So in a discussion with so many devotees, they have opinions. One devotee will say this, and immediately you cannot say in your mind, oh, this guy is wrong and all. That means your ego is saying. You can say, yeah, that person has his opinion, I disagree. But that's it, And then in a meeting, 10 people can disagree on one thing, and then maybe 4 persons may agree on a certain thing. But then ultimately they have to agree on working together. Right? Maybe your idea is the best idea. Right? But then 9 of them wants the worst idea to be implemented. What do? You said, okay, Krishna is telling me something through these 9 people that he wants that. So maybe he wants me to work with them. Okay, I'll work with you. But I disagree, but I'll work with you. Let's just do it. And then you'll do, even if it goes wrong, you're all working together. Then you'll say, yeah, we made a mistake. And if they are of a higher grade devotees, they'll say, you were right. But then you can't say, yes, I am right. You'll say, yes, but it's okay. We made mistakes. Let's move on from it. Because you're not owning those things. You cannot do that. That's the point behind the whole thing. Right? But we justify, because of our mental conditioning, material conditioning, we justify everything we do. And then we will nail the person in the wall, and then we'll say that is hang a dog, and like that. Or hang a monkey on a stick. And then and then we pass around rumors or tell everybody, this guy didn't agree with us, he's a crook, like that. That's not our philosophy. But as Prabhupada said, that's how we do it. We don't do that. If you do that, then you have so much contamination. First of all, if you do something bad to a devotee, there's a lot of contamination, which is offenses that come to you. Because you may think you're doing the right by offending someone, thinking you're protected. I remember one devotee was telling another devotee that as long as you don't say bad things in front of the deities, you're okay. That's the conclusion some people have. But that's not. Offenses are offenses. It doesn't matter where you do it. So it will contaminate your consciousness, your heart. And you cannot go back to God here until you fix that problem. Okay? So if you offend somebody, make sure you fix it. Don't wait until the end of your life. By that time, it will be too late to remember who you offended. Right? Sometimes you forget, no? After many years.
Holding someone accountable may hurt them in the short term, but that's the right thing to do. If you are,
it depends how you interact with people, right? Generally, if there's a senior devotee, the devotee will say, okay, this person, from what I've heard, both 2 parties are disagreeing. Okay, I will go with this devotee and let's all work together. So where is the hurt? You hold someone accountable, something they made mistake, but you hold them accountable in a separate situation, right? You don't in front of 1,000 people, or the whole. You print it up in the Seattle Times and say this person. You don't do that. You talk to them aside, a senior devotee, and say, look, we disagree with you on this, and you are wrong, and you made this mistake. Please fix it. That's it. So the person has to own the problem and fix it himself. You don't have to tell 10 million people. So there is a way to do things also. I mean, I'm not a manager, I'm not an expert, so I can't really say how things should be done. But I'm giving you some ideas of how things should be maintained. The whole thing should be Vaishnava Sangha, loving relationship. Right? Loving relationship is different from crucifying someone and then staking him. But that's what we do in the material world, right? You crucify someone. So we can't bring that kind of consciousness into this kind. In any case, here the main thing is perform. Kapila Muni is saying, is just do devotional service. Very easy. Don't make your life complicated. So similarly, when you are associating, make your life simple. Don't make it complicated. When you bring in a wrong consciousness, it is very pervasive. Everyone gets contaminated. Like even groupism. I always say this every year. Oh, my guru is better, your guru is not. This is the best guru. Oh, this is so contaminated. It's offensive. You should never say when you preach to a new person that my guru is better. You should never say. So they are all representing Srila Prabhupada, representing Krishna. How can you say Krishna's this quality is better than that quality? Right? So the spiritual masters are like that also. They are all Guru Tattva. Guru Tattva is Krishna. So how can you say this is better? How can you say Nashik avatar is better and this avatar is bad? That's what people say in India, right? They say Krishna avatar is the bad. This is because of foolishness. So same thing, you cannot do this kind. No, you have to grow. Prabhupada wanted us to grow into Madhyam Adhikar. Madhyam Adhikar means you don't fight with one another. As long as you guys fight among each other, you're not Madhyamas. You're Kanistas. So rise above this. This Triguna Bhava Arjuna. Okay? So don't do all these things. You're getting old. Why are you worried? These are childish things. Kids fight. Then they come and tell, this person did this to me, that. And then mother said, don't worry, forget it. Right? We are adults. Adults shouldn't fight. Continue.
Adhyastiracharanam jo
Adhyastiracharanam jo
Vedagarbha saharshibihi Yogeshwarai Kumarajyaihi Siddhai Yoga Pravartakaihi Vedadrishtyaabhimanena Nissangenapi karmana Kartritvat sagunam brahma Purushashabham Sa samsmritya punakkale Kale nishwaramurtina Jate gunavyatikare Yata purvam prajayate Aishwaryam parameshkyam cha Te api dharma vinirmitam Visevya punarayanti Gunavyatikare sati
Long verse. 12, 13, 14, 15. My dear mothers, someone may worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a special self-interest. But even demigods such as Lord Brahma, great sages such as Sanat Kumara, and great munis such as Marichi have to come back to the material world again at the time of creation. When the interaction of the three modes of material nature begins, Brahma, who is the creator of this cosmic manifestation and who is full of Vedic knowledge, and the great sages who are the authors of the spiritual path and the yoga system come back under the influence of the time factor. They are liberated by their non-fruitive activities and they attain the first incarnation of the Purusha. But at the time of creation, they come back in exactly the same forms and positions as they had previously. Okay, let's see why Kapila Muni says like that. That Brahma becomes liberated is known to everyone, but he cannot liberate his devotees. Okay. Demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot give liberation to any living entity. As it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, only one who surrenders onto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can be liberated from the clutches of Maya. Brahma is called here Adya Stira Charanam. He is the original first created living being, entity, and after his own birth, he creates the entire cosmic manifestation. He was fully instructed in the matter of creation by the Supreme Lord. Here, he is called Veda Garbha, which means that he knows the complete purpose of the Vedas. He is always accompanied by such great personalities as Marichi, Kashyapa, and the seven sages, as well as by great mystic yogis, the Kumaras, and many other spiritually advanced living entities. But he has his own interests separate from the Lord's. Veda Drishtya means that Brahma sometimes thinks that he is independent of the Supreme Lord, or he thinks of himself as one of the three equally independent incarnations. So this is where the problem comes in. Some Brahmas, they think they are the controllers. So when they think like that, then they are not purified, not sufficiently purified. And when you are not sufficiently purified, you cannot go back to Godhead. So you have to come back. So that is the statement here. So that's the whole idea here is Veda Drishtya. The slight, Prabhupada says, slight inclination to think they are independent of the Lord Krishna. So at the time of annihilation, they go back into the Mahavishnu. And then yet they will come back again. So in the next paragraph,
But our Acharya is Brahma, right?
but he's a pure devotee. Some Brahmas, they are not pure. Completely pure. Even though they are doing their duties nicely, they are not complete. They are still thinking, I am powerful. Because of me, these things happen. So therefore, if they don't do it properly and they have other desires, then they get lower birth after that. They lose the position of Brahma. In the next paragraph, Prabhupada says the specific significance of his coming back may be noted. Brahma and the great rishis and the great master of yoga, Shiva, are not ordinary living entities. They are very powerful and have all the perfections of mystic yoga. But still, they have an inclination to try to become one with the Supreme. And therefore, they have to come back. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is accepted that as long as one thinks that he is equal with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not completely purified or knowledgeable. In spite of going up to the first Purusha avatar, Mahavishnu, after the dissolution of this material creation, such personalities again fall down or come back to the material creation. Then Prabhupada talks about the impersonalists. It is a great fall down on the part of the impersonalists to think that the Supreme Lord appears within the material body and that one should therefore not meditate upon the form of the Supreme, but should meditate instead on the formless. So that is a false understanding. Okay, the Lord never comes into this material universe in a material form. He comes always in his transcendental form. So for this mistake of thinking the Lord is material, so even the yogis also have to come back. Because they meditate as the Lord is impersonal. Even though they are freed of the material problems, they still have to take birth. So therefore, again, the understanding is one should take to devotional service. Okay. Alright, any questions? Otherwise, we'll stop here for maybe 10 minutes. Okay. Because we will finish and then have lunch.
One question.
Yeah.
So it says, but even demigods such as Lord Brahma, great sages such as Sanat Kumaras. But then we hear that the Sanat Kumaras, they were impersonal, but then after smelling the lotus leaves.
No, the whole idea here is even if they are not convinced at the moment, they have to come back. If they have inclination, slight inclination, impersonalism, they still have to come back. That's the point there.
Well, however great you may be.
Yeah, however great you are,
Prabhu.